What is consciousness? The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Hello, yes, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. I'm Michael Zinn. This is my happy place. I was just thinking about what I was going to say before I came on, and I always say the same thing about how this is a place where I intended to be every Thursday and have great conversations, and it really has become such an amazing happy place for me. You are welcome to make it a happy place for you. You will mostly find a response of love in this place. Even I was thinking about we had some trolls come on when Jesse was on the show, and they were commenting some things in the chat, and even that was responded to with love. They were welcome to feel the way they did and say the things they did. And then I realized that just the fact that they were chatting was adding to the algorithm and helping me out on YouTube and on broadcast. So I was thanking them for being here. So it was awesome. So they were received with love. Yeah, it's Thursday, August 17th. The summer is flying by. But that's okay. It's beautiful out. I got to actually go down the street and see Adam and the Metal Hawks. I think I've spoken about them earlier. They were playing live at the Alive After 5 local thing they do every Thursday, every third Thursday, and during the summer. And it was really a lot of fun. I got to do that and get home in time to do the broadcast. So it feels like I'm filling up my time and going from thing to thing, but they're all things that I want to do. So it's all my own intention. It's great. Anyway, I am blabbering as usual. And I'm really excited to talk to tonight's guest. It's somebody who I've had on the show before, and actually noticed he's in the intro that was just playing. He is author Nick Girard. I'm going to talk a little bit about his book because we talked about it on the last time I had him here, but we had a great idea, or I had a great idea, to have a conversation very specific with him tonight, just based on the last conversation we had in person when he was on Janice's show. So without further ado, author extraordinaire, wonderful person and soul to talk to, Nick Girard. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. What's happening, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, Michael? Thanks
How
for
you
having
doing?
me back. This is great. Nice introduction. Yeah, you sound like you're on the move a lot. Your show and then now your show. Like, cool.
Yeah, I've been very busy, and even to the point where in my calendar I'll schedule something, and then somebody will call me and say, "Hey, are you coming to this?" And like I might have told them I was going to come, and I forgot, and it wasn't on my calendar. But you know what? It's all good. It really is. I'm feeling super great these days.
Good.
Just about my own life,
Good
and
to hear that.
that's how you got to run through it. That's the best way to
Right.
drive this meat sack through the 3D realm.
I know, right?
You got to pick the mode, right? You got to.
Yeah,
How
I
am I going to
agree.
go through
I'm with you there.
this? So, welcome back to the live
Thank
stream of
you. Oh, thank
consciousness.
you.
I know that you were here before, and I asked you this question, but I feel like there's so many philosophies about you can't stand in the same river twice. So you're here again. I'm going to ask you the question. Also, I get
Sure.
great sound bites out of it. So that question is, what is consciousness?
So I think my answer has changed since the last time. It's something I'm always trying to evolve into how I understand it. So consciousness for me right now is being aware of my mental. I think being aware of maybe my shortcomings. Is that a
Okay. Yeah.
yeah?
Absolutely.
And I guess when I say my shortcomings is more, I try to, maybe I shouldn't say shortcomings. I guess being aware of when I feel like I'm in a negative place,
Mm-hmm.
which happens. I'm a human being, flesh and blood. I get, I run through, bouts of, bits of depression, perhaps, and
Sure.
bit of, I feel negative energy when I get upset about something, and that affects me. And so, being conscious for me right now is analyzing that. It's just like when
Hmm.
I feel a
Hmm.
certain way, if something's happening to me in my job or something else negative happening, it's like, okay, I feel it like affecting me, how I act. That being conscious is me analyzing that,
Hmm.
recognizing it.
Hmm.
Yeah, like
Hmm. Hmm.
recognizing how I feel to me is consciousness.
That's great. No, I think
Oh,
that's perfect. Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect answer, and I think like it goes both ways. It's not just recognizing when you feel bad; it's also recognizing when you feel good, and the effect it has on the environment and the people around you.
sure.
Both of those things. I think I mean, consciousness is very, very layered, right? So on the
Yeah,
surface, it's like, oh, what's happening, blah blah blah, and
yeah,
then it goes deeper and deeper. And why is it happening? Why am I reacting this way? Why, I've been thinking about that a lot lately in my relationships where I find myself getting frustrated.
mhm, mhm.
Somebody pointed out, like, take a step back and stop getting frustrated with the other person and say,
Ah,
why am I reacting that way?
sure.
What's triggering me about it? And that's not to say that it's okay that the answer in the end is it's the other person.
It
Because
always is.
it could just be that, but then it's like, okay, so how are you going to respond? Are you going to let them into your space, and you're going to let that energy upset your energy, or you're going to let that
Yeah.
energy pass by, and
Yeah, it's
you
tough to
know
figure out, tough to sort through it. I like what you said is also recognize when you're feeling good. I never do that.
yeah.
Never. I need to change that.
Yeah. Well, that is easy gratitude, right?
Yeah.
How important gratitude is, and when you're like, "Oh shit, this feels good. Oh, this is gratitude. I'm so happy I'm here in this moment." You
Yeah,
know, like right now.
yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, like I'm taking what you said. I'm gonna remember that. Like
Yeah.
when I feel
Yeah.
good about something, okay, stop and think about why I
Yeah.
feel good about it. What is happening? How it affects how I react to other people. Yeah, it's an important
Right.
thing, Michael. Good
I
one.
mean, I've been really, really busy. I've been thinking about taking a break from doing
Yeah,
this, and it's like I feel like, wait a second, no, I created that moment and day for a specific reason, and like I gotta follow through with it because I know how it makes me feel when I do it, right?
there you go.
So
Yeah.
and so I always show up, I always show up and just make it happen.
Yeah,
So
it's hard too. It's hard to always say like, oh, do like it's work. You've been at work today, then you've got
yeah,
to go, and you
that's
got to
right.
do
I
your
was
show.
at work. I could have stayed over at the festival and just hung out and enjoyed, some social time, which I haven't really gotten to do much, but I felt like I specifically, instead of coming home and being like, "Oh, I got a broadcast tonight, I'm not gonna go down there," and be easier, to
Yeah,
just stay home. I was like, "No, I wanna I wanna experience that moment." I love that
yeah,
band. I love the guys in the band. I love watching them play. It's like, can I conjure that in my mind and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool. I remember that. I don't need to go." But yes, I wanna go. I wanna
yeah.
create that moment. I wanna
The
be in that moment.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. You're right. I do that
So
too. I don't.
yeah,
I'll sit home after work and not want to do anything. Just veg and do whatever. Not have any experiences. But after I have an experience like we're having right now,
right,
I'll feel better. I'll just feel
right,
like I talked to someone who creates a loving environment like you do.
right.
Where we're supported. It
Totally.
feels good after it feels great. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, totally. And again, now you're triggering in me triggering. You're evoking the response that I was not always a very social person. It was very easy to be like, I don't need that. But
Yeah.
there was something about doing this show that
Uh,
reminded me of that connection, and how it feels to connect with someone. Like, certainly, like, you have your wife, right?
yeah.
And it's like you could easily just go live in the woods with your wife and be happy and not worry about the rest of the world, and I could too in my relationship. um
Yeah.
and you would be fulfilled in a
Yeah.
certain way, for sure. There's much happiness to be had in that kind of a relationship, but even this kind of relationship, there's
Sure.
a lot to be said for it.
No, there is. Yeah, you're right on with how you think with that. Right? But like,
Yeah.
it's easy to just put relationship like, oh, I don't do a social thing, but yeah, when it happens,
Uh,
it's
if
better.
we're gonna save humanity, Nick,
That's right.
we have to
Yes,
put
we
that
have to.
energy we have to put that energy out there.
We have to, Michael. It's good. It's good for everyone.
So speaking about saving humanity, I
Yes.
guess that's a good a good segue.
Sure.
You wrote a book that I found really, really interesting, and it's funny because I lent it to Janice, so I don't have
Oh,
it
yeah.
to
Okay.
hold up. I would
You
hold
got a
it up.
copy.
There you go. You got a copy. I'm gonna add it to the stream right there.
There, look at that. All
Uh,
right. Yeah.
I kind of have it in the beginning. Oh wait, let me make it more visible.
Oh,
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
Oh, I can't make the whole thing visible. That's funny.
Oh,
Well,
that's
if I
all.
close it, I can. Well, there it is on Amazon.
There we go.
.com. But it's really such a great it's a great literary work. So I
Oh,
feel like
thanks.
you're a great writer
Thank
because it's very stylistic. It comes through, but it's also kind of it takes a cue from like the Bible, right?
Sure.
And why don't you tell us just give us
Sure.
a quick little promo for your book.
Yeah. So think of it as like a rewrite of the Bible. Like it's broken down into two parts: a recreation of the Old Testament and the New Testament. So it changes the traditional views that people think of when they think of how the world was created. So
Mhm.
usually people think of God creating the earth. Well, I reversed that. I've had the devil creating the earth, and the
Mhm.
devil is actively trying to impress God. He
Mhm.
wants to worship God, wants God to love him even more, and creates the earth as a gift. And God, I describe as something different too. Most people think of God as this beautiful being. Well, I've reversed that.
Mhm.
In this story, God is evil. And God decides to destroy the earth with the plague of humanity.
Mhm.
And instead of loving humans, God is torturing humanity, inventing money, power, greed, and wars that humans
Mhm.
will use to destroy the earth. And so it
Mhm.
starts really with the very beginning of time, Earth being created in a different way,
Mhm.
humans being created in a different way, and then this battle between God and the devil. And the devil is humanity's friend. And hell is not a place where bad humans go. It's where it's where humans go and are treated as equals. There's no power struggle. It's the ideal Earth, the
Mhm.
Earth the way
Mhm.
that Lucifer, the devil, wanted it, and
Mhm.
God didn't want. God wants the world to be this um, war torn world where everyone is fighting and trying to worship God and fighting over different religions.
Right.
And it's not just based on one religion; it's based on God created religion for depending on where you live across on the globe.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it builds a new world, and then transitions into the second part of the book, which is kind of what I call the New Testament. And it's
Mhm.
like an epic challenge between two humans in modern day times. Well, they will fight. Well, that will fight. They won't fight. They will come together through
Mhm.
traumatic events invented by God, and ultimately have to decide which realm will exist, either heaven or hell. And
Mhm.
whichever
Mhm.
realm they choose, it will decide where all the souls that have ever existed will rest, and it will mean either the end of God or the devil. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
what I'm saying, there's a lot there. There is a lot there, but like
Yeah.
really, the point of what I'm doing is to inspire humanity to accept a shared vision of peace and
Mhm.
love.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is, you've got. I'm, I'm being very. I know I'm saying it's very controversial, and I respect your beliefs and your listeners' beliefs, and so I'm not. I'm not against I'm not against religion. I'm not
Right.
against those things. I think that's what has always been done in the past. People fight over those things. Well, I don't want to fight. I want people to unite on a shared vision of
Right.
peace. You know, we it will happen one day if we keep on populating the earth the way we are and destroying it and polluting it. This world will die, and
Mhm.
I want to do something about that. I want
Mhm.
humanity to unite. We've gone. It's just like a repetitive pattern of humanity. We always
Yep. Yep. Yep.
are killing each other over what we don't our different beliefs, our different religions. We're
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
harvesting the earth until a resource no longer
Mhm.
exists, and it just
Mhm.
continues and continues. And
Right.
it's it it's a very short-sighted behavior of humanity, and it's difficult to not be short-sighted.
Mhm.
I behave short-sighted as well. I think about,
Mhm.
all right, tomorrow I've got to do this, and I've got to make money to do this. And when you think about the big picture,
Mhm. Mhm.
you want, when you think more about the big picture of the future of humanity, the future of the earth, of living beings,
Right.
you want peace. And that's what I'm trying to achieve by this, is unite
Yeah.
humanity around that vision of peace. Yeah.
Well, I think what's kind of cool is the times that we're living in, and I know that's an
Yeah.
odd thing to say because you can look at a part of the times that we're living in and be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like humanity is dissolving rapidly,
Yeah.
and certainly that exists, but there's also a big spiritual movement. There's a lot more information and a lot more of, I think, communities behind metaphysical beliefs.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know for me, I resonate with a lot of those different things. And I certainly feel like you can say this and it can have its spiritual connotations and meanings, and you can also say it and it will have its 3D kind of meanings, which is there's a shift happening, right? There is a shift happening,
Okay. Good.
and there's a lot of people who are living in fear and
Mm.
kind of buying into that energy, and then there's a lot of people who are living with hope and gratitude, who say, yeah, we've got to get through something, but on
Mhm.
the other side is
Yeah.
something better. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. No, I like
um
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fair too. Like you said, it's like if you look at the history of humanity, it goes in cycles, and certainly
Yes.
we've built ourselves up and broken ourselves down and built
Yeah.
ourselves up, and it really has a lot to do with, again, in my opinion, the three-dimensional beliefs that we are kind of. I don't want to use. I always love in conversation when I'm about to say a word and my brain is like, "Don't say that word
I,
because words are important and very powerful."
I know. I know. You gotta be careful. I know. I know what
You
you
know,
mean.
but I do think that now I lost my train of thought. The word was burdened.
Oh, okay.
I think that we the paradigm in which we live and the way that society has built itself up, um and this brings back what I was thinking earlier, is we're the only species on this planet that has to pay to live.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And in a way, people just accept it and kind of say, well, that's understandable. You know what I mean? There are people who will gather resources and build homes and do things. And I mean, it used to be done by barter. It used to be done in
Yeah.
community to survive as a species.
Yeah.
Right. And then all of these kind of belief systems were built and money and
Yeah.
class systems and all of these things that, again, I think in the spiritual community, people are saying, well, that stuff doesn't even matter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, it's how
That's
you
true.
treat each other. It's how we're all here together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've
I
all
agree.
got to survive, and it's how we treat ourselves first. And once we're able to treat ourselves with that love, and I talk about love at the
Sure.
beginning about this is a place like that. But once we treat ourselves that way, we're able to treat other people like that.
I agree.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and something that I've been experiencing, and I don't know why the hell I feel like I'm babbling, but
No, you're not at all. No, I love this
something
is great,
something
Michael.
that I've been experiencing
Great.
lately is being able to see my reflection in just about everybody that I encounter, like
Mm.
somehow, like a glimpse, like I'm able to translate, race and gender and circumstance and all of these different things into this common thread of humanity that I am.
I see what you mean. I see. I see. Like we're all technically united in humanity and life
We are
and
all
energy.
technically not, technically united, right? And I
Ah.
believe literally, I believe we're all. Sometimes I describe it like we're all thoughts inside of one big mind.
Yeah. Okay.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. The
And
world. Think of the world as that big brain, and we're all like firing ideas out and talking to other people
we're
within
yeah,
within
we're
that
just
time frame.
electrical impulses all
Yeah.
existing in that system, and
Yeah.
and interacting with each other and this
Sure.
and that. Um
because that helps us interact, like that. That's a pretty powerful thing you just said. Like, I've never thought of it like that. Like, if you think about when you're meeting someone, I mean, we're the same, really. We want the same things. We don't.
Absolutely.
You're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and then to take into consideration, like let's say you see someone homeless on the street,
Sure.
you've got to take into consideration all of the things that brought that person to that point. You didn't experience those things.
Exactly.
So you can't judge that because you don't know what you would do in any circumstance that you don't even know about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I think that's what makes it easy for me to find compassion, because I realize that like I'm in my brain is going crazy right now just thinking.
I love it.
You're awesome to talk to, so I know you understand the things that I'm thinking in my head.
No, I do. It's important to say it like the way you are, the way it just comes out. And when you say, like what we had talked about before, it's like is being empathetic to how to the circumstance that someone is in. Like you said, someone who is homeless. Like how did they grow up? Did they have what happened in their life? It's not a piece of judgment where you automatically look at someone and, there can be judgment with seeing someone who is homeless. I won't say I'm innocent. I've judged someone before too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You're on the subway. Like, I told you I used to live in the city. Mm-hmm. Subway, and someone is homeless, and you'll kind of judge immediately, and then
you're not feeling compassionate for that moment.
Yeah, and that's it happens, and I wouldn't. We're all guilty of it. We're not.
So interesting enough, I think about that, and I'm just thinking about this as you're saying it. Is I think that consciousness, right? What you were talking about earlier. I think if you think about how that feels to cast that judgment on that person, it really doesn't feel good.
That's true.
And I think you don't really think about it in that moment. You just go with it. You're just like, oh, this stupid person or whatever it is. But that doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? At least to me, you know what I mean? And that's how I've made my decisions to always try to, not respond in those ways and be compassionate and be like, I wonder what happened. And even, I mean, I'm not always doing this, and I see people who do this, like going up and having a conversation with a homeless person and being like, hey man, how you doing today? Are you all right? I'm just checking in with you, or whatever. Like, imagine if everybody was, compassionate like that.
Open and trying to help someone. I'm not always doing that myself, and probably rarely, but it's the more that you are thinking about empathy, the better off you will be, the better off the world will be. I mean, if we can have everyone thinking like that, put yourself literally in someone else's shoes and think about how they got to that state that they're in right now, instead of judging, instead of criticizing. That's the easy thing to do, and that's, like we said, we all do it, but it is hard to be empathetic. It is, but an evolved person will practice empathy. Now, I think that's the key to humanity and achieving peace and equality, is thinking about how someone else feels. I mean, you can't, if you believe in human equality, you would always be empathetic. You would never judge, or you never insult. That would take away like a lot of the negativity we see happening all the time. It's hard, when you're like, we talked about this before, is when you see so many bad things happening, and you're just like, why are people treating other humans this way? It's awful when you start looking at that. And if we can have conversations like we're having now, people are more open about analyzing themselves, analyzing their consciousness, and thinking about how they can be more empathetic, we're going to have a much better world. I mean, I don't think
the reason I don't think even we talked about this, I did say we're going to talk about empathy, but I didn't really get into it. But that is exactly what we're talking about. And you have an interesting story that you were talking to Janice about, what even made you realize what it was. And how to be it. And you just said it's hard to be empathetic, and I'm not going to disagree, but I'm just going to add a word in there. And I think it's hard to remember to be
Ah,
empathetic.
there
You
you that
know, because
that's better said.
because being empathetic feels good. You know
You're
what I
right.
mean? In
Yeah.
my opinion, you know, when you connect with somebody on that level, and you know, and we don't remember. And again, that goes back to what I was talking about, conditioning, and you know, the
Sure.
paradigm that we grew up under. You know, that we have to get a job and work and do all of these things. You know, and and you know, it's funny because I try to, again, keep this show full of love and talk
Yeah.
about light things, but I've got to honor those kinds of things too, you know what I mean? Because they're a
That's right.
part of the whole. And again, I'm just kind of thinking out loud
No,
here as
it's
I'm talking
important to
to
get
you.
to
But
those, Michael, and like getting to. I mean, I talked to Janice about it as well. Is that it took me a while to kind of figure out that I need to keep evolving and become more empathetic. Like I didn't. I mean, I think I always had that as a piece of my integrity, but I never really strove to think about how I can get better myself in
Mhm,
that aspect. You know,
mhm,
I feel like you think about bettering yourself physically or professionally, but being kinder. You know, you think about being kind, of course, but you never. The step forward is empathy, is really understanding, and
mhm.
that's when, like, you know, that's what my wife did to me. You know, like the more I took her lead, the more and which I really like is the female lead. The more I did that, I feel like the more empathetic I became. And I think a lot of men struggle with that, myself included. You know, until I kind of got over what we usually think about being man and masculine,
Mhm.
and that road. You know, you kind of think that the man is the leader. You know, that's how we've always been. Talk about cycles of time. That's how it's always been since the beginning of time. It's always been a world centered around men, and I think that really needs to change. And for men to
Absolutely. Yeah.
become more empathetic, a healthy thing is to take the female lead.
Yeah.
You know, it's really just. I feel like females have a much better view on what is important in life. Like when you said earlier, like
Well,
we all kind of want. We invented money. You know, we invented this life.
yeah.
We can
Yeah.
just kind of barter and do different have a utopia where we're all living reasonably well. We're all contributing to um, living a life that we want and be in more harmony. You know, and I feel like
Yeah.
the more I gave into my wife, the more I took her lead, the more I wanted that too. Just I thought of the bigger picture of life, why we're really here, and how I want to connect with people. You know, it's a tough thing to do, but tough for men too, I think. Oh, I think you muted yourself. Are you?
Oh, I did. I muted. There you go. I'm back. I'm back. I got to interrupt. I muted myself because I'm like looking here at the comments, and I'm getting no comments. And I'm like, this is strange because I have regular listeners who are there, you know, loyally. And it looks like, and so I just checked here on the side, and on YouTube, it looks like we do have a bunch of people
Oh, good.
commenting, and on Facebook as well. So
Oh,
I
cool.
apologize to anybody who is wait. Oh, and all of a sudden now, boom. Oh my God, that was so weird. All of
Did
a
it
sudden
load?
now, on the right, all of these comments popped up as I was talking about it. This is
Oh,
this
it's meant
is
to be.
this is metaphysical. Uh,
Yes.
so I just want to acknowledge Grace Grella. I think she's out there. She's a
Hi,
psychic
Grace.
medium who I do her broadcast. She is an amazing, phenomenal soul. So thank you for tuning in, Grace, and being here. Janice is out there
Oh, hi,
saying, "Hey,
Janice.
Nick." Spencer Girard is, I think,
Oh,
somebody
that's
you brought along with you. So I want to welcome Spencer. Thank you so much for tuning in.
my
Um,
brother.
that's your brother.
No
Well,
joke.
that would make sense that you would have the same last name. I thought it could have been your son. I don't know. Uh, and Grace, I'm just catching up on all of these comments. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Ah,
I was not unhappy that I wasn't seeing any comments. I just thought it was strange, but I'm so happy that all you guys are here. So thank you, and I apologize. The cue for you guys. We all judge a book by cover, even if we don't want to. Absolutely, I think we all,
well said.
again, we're painted with these colors and layers of conditioning. And man, imagine if we could all just break free of that stuff. I love
Right.
these.
Yeah.
George is out there, another friend podcaster. Great conversation.
Hey,
Uh,
George.
Grace Grella is saying synchronized. I don't know what she's saying that to exactly, what moment of the conversation. That's at about 10 minutes we were talking about something, and I willed the comments into existence. That's the latest one.
You wanted them, Michael. They
That's
came.
just really, I mean, I wish you guys could have seen that. It was blank on the side here, no comments. I started talking about it. I clicked on the one on YouTube just to say, oh, we do have comments, and then all of a sudden it appeared. So welcome back, Nick.
We're connecting to the world right now.
Yes. So I love that, you know, your relationship with your wife and certain things with your wife kind of opened you up to empathy and what that is. And again, I think yes, sometimes it's a masculine or a feminine trait, and I think that it doesn't really matter. I think it's just important to understand it. I mean,
to grasp that. Yeah, it's very challenging.
And practice it. And again, like you said, you know, we sometimes forget. You know what I mean? So as much as I love to talk about consciousness, I do try to restrict it to 1 hour a week, so I don't talk about this stuff wherever I go. You know what I mean? But it makes me think, you know, I mean, especially when I have people like you on the show who, you know, think a little bit differently and aren't just, you know, oh, I got to go to work. Oh, I got to do this on that hamster wheel. You know what I mean? Which again, there's no judgment about that, right? I was on that hamster wheel most of my life. You know what I mean?
And I still am.
And I still am in very many senses. Absolutely. I've still got to do some things. And what's cool is I think I'm becoming aware of ways to do that and still be true to myself and not necessarily subscribe to some of the systems that I feel negative about. You know?
It's hard to break that pattern too. Like I mean, before I started writing, and I mean, I was really lost. You know, I just didn't know what to do with myself. You know, I wanted a purpose. I wanted to do good things, but I mean, you're part of a system that you kind of sometimes can't get out of, you know, with your bills. And, you know, I'm talking to you and Janice about this before, with like burden with student loan debt, and like you feel just so trapped. And I was like that for so long. You know, especially like after I graduated college, I was very I had no idea what to do. I knew I had to get a job immediately. And so I just kind of got involved in the financial world, and that's what I still do today, unfortunately. But it's working on that, you know. But
I got a question for you, because I feel like we're probably pretty similar in this regard, because we both did get wrapped up in like, okay, I've got a rent, you know, you've got a wife, you know, Janice is my girlfriend, we're looking to get together in the same place, and that will be a responsibility, right? And a financial thing. Cool. And I think for me, you know, what I've noticed is I have lost a little bit of myself, and I say, and again, let me be careful with those words. I haven't lost it, but I've kind of tucked it away.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like, what I mean by that is I used to play in a band. I was always in a band at one point even if it was just a casual thing and I wasn't like playing places, and I was just doing it once a week, you know, with some for joy, you know what I mean? And then and I think about what's happening, you know, at those moments, and that's where I'm letting go. I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm not thinking about work or rent or any of that stuff. I'm just letting go and being purely in that moment, because man, it's so rewarding, you know, especially, you know, specifically in a band, right? When you're playing and it's like a dance. You've got 2 or 3 other guys that are playing a totally different instrument, but together you're creating this thing, you know what I mean? It's just so good. So in that same vein, and I'm getting somewhere with this about you, in that same vein, I've been taking a class with some really cool people about understanding the Akashic records and being able to read the Akashic records. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm not, no.
At all. Oh, you're not? Oh,
no,
okay.
Not at all.
So you will find this interesting. The Akashic records, it's a metaphysical practice. And the Akashic records are basically like the cosmic book of life, right? So
all right.
so your soul has this record, you've got to subscribe to a few things like past lives and things like that.
Okay.
But your soul has a record of all of the things that it's experienced, all of the things that it's supposed to experience, and where it's been, and where it's going. There's this cosmic book of life.
Cool.
And it's an energetic thing. It's being able to tune into it, and it's pretty cool because all of the people that are taking it, again, have these different relationships with different metaphysical concepts.
Yeah, different relationships with
Channeling.
energy.
Yeah, channeling. I don't know if you're familiar with channelers who
A
little bit. Well, so what I think is cool is channeling doesn't necessarily need to be just that. I think that this is channeling. So this is, while I was listening to the class, I was just drawing.
Oh, cool.
And I wasn't really thinking too much. I was like, oh, I want to start with an eye. And then I just drew and drew and drew. And it was basically, I was channeling the drawing while I was, focusing on the class.
I see.
And so I guess the point is, I feel like, worrying about the job and the rent and the debt and whatever else it is that's so three-dimensional, truly takes you away from that kind of stuff, which is really the beauty of life. So now getting to you, I would love to know, do you take the time to sit and write? Because I feel like writing for you is probably that process, right?
I think, as your band is my writing. And so I'm glad you asked that. So that is how I escape, either writing or reading, but mostly writing. And just writing, I mean, like I have a journal, and I really only do my journal on the weekends. I don't really do it during the week, but now I'm thinking
that's regularly, at least that's
every Saturday and Sunday I do a journal, and I really should start doing it more during the week. Makes me think about that, but that's when I feel like, and sometimes I'll write about how I feel. Sometimes I'll write about an event, a trip. My wife and I just went on a trip to Vietnam like a month ago, and now I'm just pouring over the trip, and like this restaurant we went to, and the food here, and how the people were like, and it brings me so much happiness to do that. But that's when I can really escape. And I like what you said when you were in your class and you just drew, and and what you just showed us is like the result of just you escaping and being in the moment of that period of time. And I really struggle with that. I've been improving. I think about it. But it's like, it's very hard for me to say, especially when I'm doing things with work or something, maybe chores around the house, like I'm doing something and my mind's going a million different places. This faucet that's just a thought. It's just like, I got to do all these different things. I got this to do. And I'm completely just not in touch with the present.
Right.
But I noticed that when on Saturday, I'll sit down with my journal in the morning, and I'll just write, and have no thought about anything else, just writing about what comes into my mind. And then, like, maybe I'll write a little bit of a little piece of fiction. Like sometimes I'll write a paragraph of just a story, and just
nice.
And I don't have a deadline. I don't have someone I have to show it to. It's just for me. And like, it's so beautiful to have that pure focus of the present.
Right.
That's
totally.
It's I really have to work on it though. Like I really
No, I agree. I totally agree. And I've talked to Janice about this too. Like, I should get back in a band. You know what I mean? I should do it. And you don't, because you don't have time or this or that and the other thing. But you know what? I'm the one driving the ship. You know what I mean? If I don't have time, it's because I'm not making the time. Which is what we were talking about earlier. That's why I said, you know what? I'm not gonna lay down and relax and rest and just get ready for my broadcast. I'm gonna go enjoy the moment and see the people I love, and get that energy. And it was so awesome just standing there in the street, because the band was playing. Everybody was loving it. It was just so good. I was on Facebook Live. I was just like, it was electric. It was awesome. It was really good.
It's so healthy for our brains too.
Yes, I should. What's that?
It's so healthy for us to do these things. Like
it really is. It really is. And it's healthy for everybody else
Yeah.
as well. You know what I mean? And again, I know, again, I give myself this hour to talk all woo woo and like, you know, all of that stuff. But, you know, I mean, again, we were talking about it earlier, and I said the idea that we're all a thought in a big mind, right? So you know, that can be also described, and people describe it as, we are here to be a perception of ourself, right? Which is the bigger self, you know, the collective self. We're here as a perception of the collective self, and it would be so obvious if that's what we're here as, that the purpose of that is to connect with the other perspectives and share our information and our experiences, and be like, ooh, what did you see? Oh, what did you see? Let's, you know, and then we just, it just expands, you know what I mean?
And you really get to be able to do that, like connect with other people and share ideas when you go to events like you were at tonight. Something that's maybe you wouldn't usually do, or a place you wouldn't usually go, and all of a sudden you're confronted, maybe not confronted, you're inspired by all these different views and people and what they're saying. And I really noticed that a lot when my wife and I, we move a lot, too much. And I really noticed that when we would move, it's like you're when you move to a new city, it's just a new culture that you've never experienced, and they do things completely different than you do or have thought. And to have an open mind around that is a beautiful thing, because you're like,
awesome.
I mean, yeah, there's like so many things you can relate it to, like, I see that you do this in your garden. I've never even thought of that. But I've seen you, and I'm here, a different place, and now I'm absorbing what you're doing, and it's beautiful. And then that person,
I love that you're saying that. So it's funny, because one of the things I was like, oh, you know, I know what I'm going to talk about with Nick, empathy, and that's all I need to know, and it will go fine, right? But one of the things I was thinking was like, oh, you know, Nick lives in Delaware, and I know that, you know, he's moved around a bit. I don't know where he was from originally. Maybe I'll talk to him about that. But then I was like, Delaware, isn't that the smallest state? I'm like,
it's like
nothing. Yeah, it's like this little, you know, Rhode Island is the smallest, right? No,
okay, right.
I think, but they're both about the same, right? There's these two little tiny chunks of land on the map. So you gave me a segue. Tell me about what it's like. How long have you been in Delaware?
I mean, we've been here maybe for like 2.5 years. I mean, so we're technically where we are is basically the suburbs of Philadelphia. It's basically exactly the same thing as Philadelphia where we are. And my wife and I used to live in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So we happened to
not too much of a transition.
It's really not. Like, we were in the suburbs of Philadelphia like 5 years ago, and we were in Miami for a couple of years, and Miami for a year, Boca Raton for a year, and then back up to Delaware. And so I really just got a job with what people I used to work at when I was in Philadelphia, and Delaware had the best prices for homes. So that's why.
And it was close enough. It was close enough.
And my wife and I always make that Wayne's World joke. Remember that? I think it's Wayne's World 1, where they're like, Wayne and Garth are on their show, and he's like, Texas, and they're wearing cowboy hats, and then they're like, oh, we're in Delaware. And they have nothing funny to say about it. That's kind of how it's like, because there's like, I mean, no one's ever heard of Delaware. Or like, what is it?
Right. What do you do to represent Delaware? Right.
Like,
totally. That's so funny.
It's a little strange. I mean, it's a nice area. Yeah, it's not our forever spot, but you know, we don't know where we belong. That's why we move around.
Right. It was worth a couple of sentences.
Yeah, for sure.
And Spencer is out there, and he's saying you're from Florida originally, I guess.
No, so
love from Florida.
I see. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, so he's in Florida. Gotcha. So tell me, what's your favorite place? How is it living in Miami?
So we were in Boca Raton and Miami, it's southern Florida. So it's okay down there. It wasn't really for us. It's nice. There's a lot of wildlife down there. But it wasn't our kind of place down there. We're more northern. We like it up here a bit better. But it's still it's nice. But one thing we really didn't like down there was
what is it that like makes it different?
Well, when you're in an area with the kind of the same climate all year round, I kind of feel like it stifles like your cognitive development a bit because you kind of feel like
I've heard that.
you're trapped
Yeah.
in like I don't like a terrarium. It's like
Understood.
and when people, I used to know people that would before I moved to Florida, I had known people that had lived there, and they're like, oh, we like they hadn't been there for very long. They're like, yeah, we love the warm weather, but we do miss the seasons. And I was like, I don't know if I would miss the seasons, but it's more than just missing the season. It's like the change of
Missing
how
the change, the cycle.
time
Yeah,
function.
absolutely.
Like you look forward to the change, and you're in the change. Very Grace, you're right. Yeah, it's exactly like Groundhog Day. Yeah, you just feel like every day is exactly the same.
My folks moved to Arizona probably about over 20 years ago, and that was the first thing. They love it in Arizona, but the first thing my dad says was, "I just miss the change of seasons."
It's a big deal.
Well, because I think we're cyclical, right? We're cyclical beings. It's like we live on a cycle.
Yeah, you change like how I behave in the winter will be a little bit different than I behave in the summer, and how I think and what I do, and it's like that change is healthy for your brain, I think. But yeah, so we didn't like that aspect of it as much, but I think my favorite. I was talking to Janice about this a little too. My favorite society was New York City for sure. Very hard to live in New York because of the expense.
Right.
But it's really like
diverse.
Really, really diverse. Like you're walking down the street and you'll hear 6 languages and none of them are English. It's beautiful. And like everyone is really united in New York. Like we all take the same transportation. Everyone's on the subway. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows the hardship of New York. Everyone knows the right places to go.
Right.
And you're united in like a really camaraderie atmosphere because we're all like in it together on this little.
It's like a machine. Yeah, it's like a little machine for sure.
Yeah, it feels really good to connect that way. And like I would suggest anyone to go and live in New York for a period of time because it was the place where humanity was like the most united. I felt in New York.
I think that's an interesting thing. Like everybody should experience these different kinds of lifestyles. You know what I mean? Go live in the countryside for a little bit. Live in New York for a little bit. Like just to experience it. I think that's great. So I'm noticing your brother Spencer, is in on YouTube. So I do this thing. I make it interactive. If you're on YouTube and you're new to the show, which I'm imagining Spencer is, and you subscribe and you type subscribed in the comments, I will ring my bell. I have a bell over here. It's not just the bell on YouTube. It's an actual physical bell.
Yes.
So,
come on.
So there you go. Make the show interactive.
Subscribe, Spencer.
But I really love talking to you, man. You know, it's so great to not feel like somebody wants to fight, you know what I mean? Or tell me their opinion over my opinion, you know. I mean, it's like we're just sharing experiences and energy, and I love it. Rob from the Q for You podcast saying travel is very important. Yeah, I think it is. I think I mean, this will bring up a whole different conversation of comfort zones. I think that people get in their comfort zones. I've lived on Long Island my whole life, and it's a comfort zone. It's like, oh man, if I go to Virginia, I'm out of my comfort zone. But man, on the other side of my brain, I'm just like, it would probably be so much better. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and not that I'm fine with living on Long Island. You know what I mean? But I think that once Janice's son is out of high school, we'll probably leave Long Island just to go somewhere else and experience somewhere else. You know what I mean? Just because it's like, you know, we ain't getting any younger. You know?
And it's an adventure too. Like adventures are not comfortable, but they are life changing. And it always changes your life for the better. Like my book is kind of like that too. It's like it's an adventure. Like it's tough. Like there's some controversial items I'm talking about in this book, but it is a journey, and it's for the better. And I mentioned when we went to Vietnam recently, like Hanoi is where we stayed for a lot of the trip. Nice. And it's like it was like New York City. Like it was a really unified city, and everyone is like extremely nice, and helpful. And like, you learn about flavors and smells and how people sit, like
Wow.
we would sit at these little, they have, I'm sure you're familiar with Anthony Bourdain, but remember, there's a bunch
Yeah.
of Bourdain episodes when he went to Vietnam, and there's like, it's very common for people to eat food like on the street in a little table and chair, and we're not used to that in the United States. Like, and so I was nervous
Yeah.
about like knocking the table over, but I had to adapt on the fly. You just
What's is it like a Caribbean, a tropical kind of
it's
climate?
very tropical,
Very
very
tropical.
very
Okay.
hot. We went in
Okay.
the
And
hot.
now I think Vietnam, correct me if I'm wrong, is not an island, right? It's part of
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, it's not an island. Yeah, it's like it has a huge coastline. It's a really long,
it's a coastal city,
yeah,
right?
very
Right.
coastal
Right.
country. And
Country.
I
Right.
mean, it was talk about just how important travel is exactly what we were saying before. Is like you just like I learned so much about being there, like how they drink coffee, how they. I brought some incense. I brought some incense back. I've been lighting it like crazy after being there. It
Nice. Nice.
just brought this like peaceful feeling to me,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I loved it, and I would never know that if I didn't go there. And I mean, traveling is expensive. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's difficult to travel, but you have to, put money aside for that purpose,
Yeah.
no matter where, even in the United States. Just going
Experiences, yeah,
to,
man.
yeah.
So much more valuable than money. To take it back to the previous statement, travel opens your eyes and helps you be more accepting of
Oh, well
different cultures.
said. Wow.
A million
Yeah,
percent. And you just said something interesting to me,
well
and
said.
you just tickle my brain with all of these different stimulations. You said something about the incense and really loving the incense, and I
Yeah,
know for me, that's a part of the experience for the wellness center. They always have incense burning, and it always smells really good. So I that's a mental thing, like that's what it brings back mentally.
yeah.
But also essential oils or something that I've kind
Ah,
of played around with, right? And they have lavender and frankincense and these oils that smell a certain way. And you just made me realize, not that I didn't know this before, but it like bing laid up in my head, that smell also has to be a frequency, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's how it
yeah,
travels. It's not a physical thing. It's a frequency, an airwave. It's a
yeah,
frequency. I got to look into
yeah,
smell and how smell works, because you just totally made me curious about, like, because sound I understand and light I understand, but smell is in that realm, right? I
yeah.
mean, smell is,
And it brings back a memory that you'll have. Like I'll I'll light like a certain incenses help your body to harm it. Ah, good one, Spencer. Yeah, you're
exactly,
right. Like
exactly.
I'll light like a Christmas candle in the summertime, like a candle that smells like fir trees,
Hmm.
and we always light it around Christmas. But I'll light it in the
Hmm.
summer because I started that smell. I'm like,
Hmm.
it brings aromatherapy. You're right, Grace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like, and it makes you it brings that moment in time to a different moment in time, and you like brings all these great
Yeah, 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 yeah.
feelings and emotions, and
Right.
it'll make me happy. And so when I started lighting the incense, like as soon as I bought it specifically when we were there, and started lighting it as soon as we got back, and
Right.
made the Vietnamese coffee that we learned how to make, and just took that experience and brought it back to our house, and it made me, like we were talking before, just like escape.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I escaped in, and it brought that moment of happiness to the present, and
Right,
in a whole different geography. I
right.
mean,
Yep,
um,
yep. Janice is saying
and
each oil has its own frequency, which
yeah,
again, and,
cool.
Rob is saying that's an interesting concept. Yeah, it totally really is. And here's what's even more interesting, and the stuff that I love to think about. so so the smell is actually triggering a thought,
Yeah,
which is also energy, right? The thoughts are
sure.
energy, right? So it's
Yeah,
just like one energetic force is interacting with another energetic force, like
yeah,
with
yeah.
intention, like like it's like, oh, here's wow, I'm blowing my
It's
own mind tonight.
no, it's fascinating to think about
Yeah,
that. Like you can totally like make a setting or a scene just by a smell. Like I'll like my wife is coming home. I'll like prepare something.
totally.
I
That's
think
a
about
good
next
problem.
rabbit hole. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like I'll like create a smell in the house of either a candle or incense or a food,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so when you
Hmm.
walk in, you just confronted by it immediately. Like
Hmm.
I'll
Hmm.
even light incense before, like I'll go for a walk, but light incense before I leave, And so I come back, I'm confronted with the smell, and like immediately I'm like taken to a different place. And it's like it's helping me focus.
I love it, man. So this is something that, all right, so I'm gonna go, this is a way tangent, but not okay. Just the idea of a smell, right? So let's say a food, like you were talking about, you walk by a restaurant and that triggers a thought, a memory, right, of having that food. And then all of a sudden your stomach is grumbling and you're like, your body is actually secreting, like, and you've now actually through a thought manifested a physical reaction. Right? And so that's what I always talk about, as far as like when people don't understand how thoughts manifest reality and manifest physical, they can actually manifest in physical ways. I always go back to emotion. Like when you think of something that makes you really sad, right? You feel it in your face, you feel it in your throat, you start choking up, your eyes start to tear, you could actually physically manifest tears. Like to me, that's just thinking about the idea that, wow, that thought just created physical reality. Like that's proof of everything right there.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because that's how I write. Like I had like when you write, like, I mean, I knew when I wrote this book that it had to be original and thrilling and entertaining. And I had, and like, in order to make that happen on the page, I have to create emotion within me. And so I created, like, the second part of the story, there's a very traumatic situation that does happen that leads down another, basically leads to the challenge I was talking about earlier between God and the devil. And it's a very traumatic situation, but I had to create that in my head. And I would sit, like, I cry, really, I have really strong emotions and it's embarrassing.
That's awesome.
That's how it is. And I'll make myself feel a certain way and I will cry, and I would do that while I wrote. I mean, I'm not like sobbing tears and I'm not trying to be over dramatic here, but like I would have to do that, and it would translate onto the page. Like you could feel that emotion.
I love that. That's so amazing and so important. And guess what?
Hey,
we got Spencer who subscribed.
All right.
Thank you so much to Spencer. I haven't rang that bell in a while, so I'm gonna ring it twice for Spencer.
Oh, Spencer's such a good sport. Thanks, Spencer.
Thank you, Spencer. Oh, and listen to that, it's still kind of ringing. Pretty cool. I like it. One of my listeners got me that bell. So
cool.
That's awesome. Grace Bella, energy, frequency, and vibration. Nicholas Tesla. Absolutely. I mean, there's so much to discuss about it and how it's connected to everything. Everything. And again, so you say you cry and you're sensitive and you cry. I find crying so joyful. Like I really do. I mean, it's like, sometimes it's crying for a sad reason, and yes, there's sadness there, but there's such a joy in releasing that, because you're, again, I guess it's taking that thought energy and making it physical, and it's just transforming it and releasing it.
No, you're right. It does make you feel good. It's a release. And I also will cry if I see something sentimental.
Right.
So it's not. I won't feel sad, but for like a heartwarming situation, like let's say a parent and their child being brought back together over overcoming some horrible circumstance and coming together. Like, like in a movie or in real life, you see something like that. Like I will shed a tear in a second when something like that happens. Because I want happiness. I want everyone to be happy and at peace, and it ties us back into empathy. Like
because how it feels.
The more empathetic you are, the more you want everyone to feel at peace and love. You want everyone to feel that and unite over it. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's such a beautiful thing. And Ninja Kitty is here. I forgot it was Thursday. Ninja Kitty was the one who made me realize, like, wait, I know even if nobody's here, Ninja Kitty would be here making a comment. So I was wondering why there was no comments, but she actually wasn't here until just now. So that's kind of funny. Rob is saying crying gives freedom through the release of when it takes the weight off of you.
Very nice. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I see my audience. I'm not going to bring up the comments, but I love it when they start talking to each other and saying hello. It's
You've
such
got a great group. Like it's a
so
good
cool.
group here. It really is. People want.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you. Yeah.
it's a safe environment. You feel like I'm talking about crying, and usually men don't talk about that at all.
Totally.
It's
So yeah, that actually reminds me. I wanted to talk about, like, I think I'm the same way. I'm very, very sensitive, and certain things will trigger crying in me, and I'm like, I can't freaking believe I'm crying over this. But it's like, if I see an artist doing something that's so, like, original, like they thought of it, and it's like, wow, look at that creativity that came out of that person that I've never seen before, and look at it, and I'll start crying. I'll just be so inspired, and I'll cry. I won't be bawling,
yeah,
but
I know.
I'll be like, oh my god, and that's that joy, that's that, that I'm talking about.
Yeah, you just find yourself tearing up when you're talking about it. It's like you can connect to that passion.
And it's almost like what I was talking about earlier about seeing the reflection in yourself. It's like, wow, I would love to come up with something creative that has me written all over it. You know what I mean? That's just me and something I came up with. There's an artist, Alexa Mead. I don't know if you know who she is. She was a photographer and a painter, and what she would do is she would paint sets, like the corner of a room, let's say a corner of a sitting room, and paint the chair, and then she would actually paint the model and take a photograph, and it would look like a painting, but you would see the person's like real eyes and real mouth because she couldn't paint in there.
I see. Cool.
It was so beautiful, and I saw her just as on the internet, like as a fan of her artistic stuff, and then she got picked up, like a bunch of large companies were like, we want to do advertising campaigns with this, and it just became a thing. So it's very cool.
Passionate work like that, passionate original work.
I love it. Rob is sharing, after his daughter was born, he became extra emotional, and they cry at sad videos now, and he doesn't know why.
I'm similar to that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you just can't help it,
Absolutely. And Spencer saying death comes quicker when your emotions are negative, when happiness and positivity is eternal and infinite. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, these are great comments here, but I feel like when
people are paying attention.
But also people, it's hard to express that. That's very private, and it's hard to express that unless you feel like you are in a comforting environment. And usually, like I grew up, I was kind of picked on a bit when I was a kid, and yeah, I mean, it teaches you to internalize and not show any emotion. And I would be, when I was a kid, you should see me as a kid. Like, I used to cry like all the time, and you get made fun of a lot for and I couldn't help it. And I was just being myself, and I didn't understand why people were making fun of me. And it was just who I was. And so then I internalized everything, and then it only started coming out more the more I became happier with what, like, with exploring my passions, like in writing, the more I felt more comfortable to talk about it, because it's just who I was, and I'm accepting of who I am. What am I supposed to do about it? It's just, and anyone that's insulting someone for who they are has to change, has to evolve. I don't want to say, usually when people talk about how someone's acting and behaving badly, they insult that person too. And that doesn't help. We have to inspire those people to change. It's like, look, it's okay. It's okay to talk about your emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's happening. I see in the spiritual community a lot is they call it the authentic self, right? They're able to be their authentic self. So you as a kid, you just were being your authentic self. But I think that as a society, we are conditioned, and you weren't at this point to worry what people think. Right. And so all of the people who were making fun of you, they were like, "Ooh, if I did that, people would think this about me," or people. So that's how they were reacting. And imagine if they were able to be their authentic self, they would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to judge Nick because he's just being his authentic self. You know what I
I'm
mean?
just happier. Like I just wanted to be someone's friend, you know, and have
The world would be such a better place. The world needs more Nick Girards.
you yourself, and Ed, yourself and Janice and the group of people you have here. You know, these are holy things. Yeah.
The world needs more love, definitely.
Agreed.
And with that being said, I'm noticing we're over an hour, which is fine.
Sorry.
You know, we don't have a contract. No one's paying us. We're
That's
just here to have a conversation. But I usually like to keep it an hour and let people on the East Coast go to bed. But I would love some more words of wisdom from you, because you definitely seem full of that. I was almost ready to sign off before. It's like, oh, that's a good closer. Let me sign off. But I just love talking to you. So
I do too, Mike. It's great talking to you, and your audience, and thank you to your listeners too. Like you've got a great group. You know, you and Janice are really good people.
You know what? I believe in what I'm doing. I don't know why, but I do, and I'm not even going to question why.
Don't question it.
You know what I mean? I'm just going to do it.
Listener and me. And a new subscriber from my brother.
I got a new subscriber today. I'm so awesome. Thank you, Spencer, and welcome. I hope you tune in again.
Very cool.
Cool. So the words of wisdom, did you say them and I missed them, or
so I mean, words of wisdom is
something to leave my audience with feeling good.
Yeah. So I mean, I think all of us should just take a step back, think about how we can be more empathetic, think about how we can evolve more. And a truly evolved person knows they can never stop evolving. If we all have that kind of mindset, we will have a better world. It will make us be more empathetic. And the more people that can act and behave that way, the easier it will be for us to achieve peace on this planet. And ultimately, that's what we all want. This is our home, what we all share. We all want exactly the same thing, to wake up and be at peace. And that's what
very important.
And that's what an evolved person wants: peace on this planet for everyone.
Yeah, you just said it. We're all here together. You great show, Michael and Nick. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you, Robert, for being there, for allowing us to share with you. Right? There's nothing to share if nobody's there receiving it. Right? So that's awesome. That makes me feel validated. Thank you, Robert. You have validated me somewhat. I already validated myself, but you're there with me. We're together in this. I love it. Nick, let me put you backstage for a minute and sign off.
Okay.
My traditional exhale, and I will see you in a minute.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Great talking to you, Nick Girard. Everybody, that was amazing. Hold on, let me take in my deep breath of that love and that moment with Nick. Get rid of the stuff I don't need. Right there. I love that idea. It's such a simple way to look at breathing and use it as a way to just calm down in literally a moment, a breath. You know, I love that. Anyway, I thank you guys for being here with me today. As always, I hope you had a good time. I definitely did. Ninja Kitty saying she's going to catch the replay, Nick, so don't you worry. She's going to get to see your amazing view on the world, which I'm really happy that you shared. Anyway, folks, I have Camille listed next week, which is a woman who was on Janice's show. I don't have her bio with me, so tune in next week and we will meet Camille. And again, thank you guys for being here. Peace out. I'll talk to you soon.